Hello everyone and welcome to the Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris. A house divided against itself cannot stand, so says our blessed Lord. This is the scandal that has come to the fore among Catholics in America and even among the bishops. Catholic editorials and blogs and opinion pages are crammed full of noted Catholics talking about the division, either directly or indirectly. In fact, the disagreement between them makes clear that there is a disagreement. That division was highlighted again over the weekend as discord broke out among the bishops gathering in Baltimore for a week-long conference. Weeks ago, in the tumult of the election, spokesmen for the bishops said they would take up the matter of what to do about Catholic pro-abortion politicians, especially since Joe Biden, a Catholic, was running for the vice president and now, as a matter of fact, is soon to be vice president. Many saw this move as cowardice to wait until after the election to have the discussion. Nonetheless, it was placed on the agenda for discussion. Suddenly, this weekend, word leaks out that it was no longer a topic and the bishops had scratched it off the agenda. This word leaked out as bishops were landing at the airport in Baltimore. Now, according to insiders, a group of bishops adamant about the topic being treated forced the item back onto the agenda. So, as of today, it appears that abortion and the elections will be a topic for the bishops. No one likes division. Generally, it's not a nice thing. But sometimes it can have a good effect, like when the men are separated from the boys and everyone comes to understand which side you're on. The only thing worse than division on the same team is treachery and cowardice. For years now, there have been competing factions within the Catholic Church, particularly in the West, not only over matters of style and approach, but matters of substance and doctrine. It first broke into light back in 1968 when Pope Paul VI released his letter restating Catholic teaching condemning artificial contraception. Immediately, a howl of protest went up from self-styled intelligent Catholics, decrying the Pope, denouncing him and church teaching. And it's been all downhill ever since, at least in the West. Catholic in name-only universities, colleges, publications, theologians, priests, vocation directors, laity, chanceries, all pretend to be Catholic while advancing their own agendas and are quite happy to employ the mechanisms of the universal church to do so. This has formed a split in the church between those voiceless Catholics, mainly laity, who have sat on the sidelines at Sunday Mass in horror and anger as watered down and even anti-Catholic sputum has flowed from many pulpits. Not all pulpits, to be sure, but enough to create a crisis of faith. Many times, in fact, nothing is said, and that silence echoes throughout the parish and speaks volumes. The 21st century has dawned, and a light has begun to shine on this division and the moral carnage it has caused. There was, of course, the sex abuse scandal and the more than $2 billion the church has had to pay out. 5 dioceses have had to declare bankruptcy, and it's not over yet. This scandal was largely the result of a cone of silence during the last 40 years or so in the management of the institutional church. But the damage has been far more widespread than an Episcopal cover-up. Treacherous Catholics have been quietly preaching under the radar that the official position of the church must be heard and then disregarded, if not accepted by your personal conscience. This has caused great moral and theological confusion among the laity, and the inevitable results, the intended results, many people feel, have come to pass. The Catholic Church in the West resembles Berlin in 1945, a smoking pile of rubble that is barely discernible as a city. But this election may have yet a silver lining. For years, many officials have not wanted to acknowledge the sorry state of affairs in the church. Spokesmen and communications directors and press releases have attempted to paint a picture of isolated damage here and there. But the genie is finally out of the bottle. After 40 years of dissent and personal agenda pushing, the Catholic laity is in a state of ignorance, moral darkness, and near total confusion. The damage is total, widespread, and now clearly visible. There is simply no denying this any longer. And it has been abortion, which is the issue, which has given proof to the lie of the Catholic in name only crowd. Millions of more Catholics in this election voted for the most strident pro-abortion candidate to ever walk into the Oval Office. And they did so spurred on by arguments and rationalizations on the part of high-profile Catholics, some clerics, others laity. There is deep division within the church, and the division has been due in large part to an unwillingness to confront underlying issues and end them. Look, bishops, like everyone, don't like confrontation. It's almost always unpleasant, can turn nasty, and is almost always emotional. But when it needs to happen, it must happen. Constant campaigning for compromise must come to an end. Nowhere is this more evident than the bishop's document, Faithful Citizenship, which tried to incorporate nearly all views on how Catholics should form their consciences before voting. The problem was the words used were chosen in such a way as to allow all opposing and contradictory viewpoints to hold up the same document and support their views. Compromise does not work, and what is being compromised is the truth. Word from Baltimore this week is that many bishops are just hoping that this all blows over, just goes away. But refusing to take a stand is taking a stand. It's standing on the side of the status quo. And right now, the status quo is moral confusion by many, many Catholics and skullduggery and treachery by many other Catholics. Catholics need to pray that our bishops will emerge from their week-long Baltimore conference with a renewed sense of strong Catholic identity and purpose and courage. There comes a time when the art of compromise becomes a game unto itself and a weapon to stall as one side craftily advances its position. The time has come to call a halt, draw a line in the sand, count heads, take names, and get on with ending the division by overcoming the differences, not ignoring them. An authentic Catholic revolution is what's needed, but first, everyone must choose up sides. I'm Michael Voris.